Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket signifies in the finest sense a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and not clothed. The world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. This is not a way of life at all, in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war,
it is humanity hanging from a cross.
Why is Dwight D. Eisenhower placed upon such a high pedestal of greatness? Could his actions really be so magnificent to set him apart from all the other great minds in our nation's history? Has he always been such a brilliant leader as he was in his later years while leading this country? At approximately 8 o'clock on the morning of December 7th, 1941, I was leaving the breakfast table when the ship's siren for air defense sounded. Having no anti-aircraft battle station, I paid little attention to it. Suddenly I heard an explosion. I ran to the port door leading to the quarterdeck and saw a bomb strike a barge of some sort alongside the Nevada, or in that vicinity. The Marine Color Guard came in at this point saying we were being attacked. I could distinctly hear machine gun fire. I believe at this point our anti-aircraft battery opened. Japan had struck the first blow against the United States by attacking an unprepared, unsuspecting naval harbor. This attack would not be let go unpunished, for the United States would use this as their rallying call to join the Allied forces in World War II. The Allied powers were now a considerable force to be reckoned with, and felt that they should use aggression to end this war as quickly as possible. In November of 1942, incident to the decision to land British and American troops in North Africa, Operation Torch as it was called, the combined chiefs of staff appointed Eisenhower Commander-in-Chief of Allied forces for that invasion. Eisenhower had felt that to focus on Germany, which all three powers could attack simultaneously, would be more intelligent, but Franklin D. Roosevelt and Winston Churchill felt that they should open a second front to help the Red Army fighting in the Soviet Union. Eisenhower later had said that the command decisions he had made in Operation Torch were some of the most worrisome he had to make throughout the entire war. The unprecedented scope and complexity of the operation depended upon amphibious landings, which were inherently risky and with which his forces had little worthwhile experience. Added to this concern was a nagging uncertainty as to how the Vichy French would react when the United States launched an invasion of the territory of a neutral nation without a declaration of war. Moreover, Torch was America's first campaign in the crucial European theater, and it was Eisenhower's debut in the business of commanding Allied officers who were not only senior in rank, but who had experience. 7th of May in 1943, with it ending with the capture of Bizerte and the surrendering of Afrika Korps soldiers in Tunisia by May 13th. Upon victory in North Africa, Allied forces used ports in North Africa as staging points northwards toward the underbelly of Europe. The first target chosen by the Allied commanders was Sicily, after concluding an amphibious operation against Vichy France would be impossible. Allied occupation of Sicily would also safeguard Allied shipping in the Mediterranean. The island was defended by 230,000 Italian troops consisting of mainly weak coastal defense units. It was generally thought that the best Italian units were lost in Africa, but Dwight Eisenhower was unwilling to discount the quality of Italian troops, as the psychology of defending their own homeland could make a world of a difference in the Italian troops were augmented by 2 German divisions under the command of General Hans Hube, which commandeered much attention by General
Eisenhower's intelligence staff. Initial resistance was fierce from both Italian and German resistance, but they both soon buckled under the pressure from the invasion force under Dwight Eisenhower. Syracuse was taken on the first day of the invasion nearly uncontested, Palermo on 22nd of July, and Catania on 5th of August. With this successful beach landing, the Allied powers set a foothold into Axis Europe, in which the war would really begin. The invasion was called Operation Husky. It called for an amphibious landing like an Operation Torch upon the beaches of Italy. A large gamble the Allies took on was that the landing took place at several locations. A failure in any one of those locations could negatively affect the outcome of another landing site. This was not took unnoticed by Eisenhower, but the success of the invasion in North Africa gave him confidence that the mission could be successful. The fall of Sicily in August 1943 affected the Italians so tremendously that a coup d'état materialized. Italian leader Benito Mussolini was deposed from power, and the new government under Marshal Pietro Biadaggio accepted a short military armistice with the Allied powers on the 3rd of September. By this act, said Biadaggio, all ties with the dreadful past are broken, and my government will be proud to march with you on to inevitable victory. Eisenhower publicly announced that bombing raids would be ceased due to the Italian surrender, although in actuality Eisenhower's true intentions were to use the bombers to transport vital supplies to the front. Therefore, some argue that the gesture was not completely out of a merciful nature. June 5th, 1904. The seas were uneasy and the wind blew strong as a possible storm approached across the English Channel. Thousands upon thousands of landing craft swayed back and forth in docks along the English coast. Operation Overlord was being set into play. The largest amphibious invasion force in history, which would cross the English Channel and penetrate into Nazi-controlled Europe through the France coastline. 5,000 plus ships, including landing craft carrying 130,000 men, who would be landing on 5 beachheads, who were accompanied by 3 airborne divisions who would batter the coastline before the initial landing. Eisenhower contemplated as he waited for a promising weather forecast from Allied meteorologists. This would be his greatest decision, or his worst. A paper was handed to him which gave him a positive yet cautious weather report. Operation Overlord was set to go. With this news, Ike himself went to go inspect the 101st Airborne Division, the Screaming Eagles, who were the first to be sent behind enemy lines on the night before D-Day. He wanted to look the men in the eyes, the men who were expected to receive 80% casualties, before he sent them into battle.
D-Day was an overwhelming success in which the worst possible conditions were overcome by the ingenuity and wit of the ground forces in Normandy and their superiors. The collaboration between all the military branches was amazing, even though obstacles were overcome. They secured vital choke points behind enemy lines before the invasion and while during the amphibious landings. Troops landed at 5 beachheads: Gold, Juneau, Sword, Utah, and Omaha. The worst opposition coming from Omaha, where heavy casualties ensued. True human courage showed where men who were lost from their squads and their superior officers gathered the men around them and reorganized themselves. With these made from scratch squads, the beaches were eventually won,